6 cents higher than here. Yeah. Oh, theirs is. Give Mike 1 more minute. Uh-oh. Is this a plot? The microphones are out, Mike's not here. All right, we'll get started. We'd like to ask Pastor Rachel Danner to give us an invocation. We always appreciate her coming to our meetings.
All right, let us pray. Gracious and loving God, we give you thanks that you are with us as we gather together. Lord, we ask that you would guide and direct this time, that we, your people, can utilize our gifts collectively to do your work, to be able to care for your people in this community, to be able to follow where you lead, and to take care of all of those who are in need these days. Help us to discern your calling, to know how to serve your people, and to use our gifts with joy. Lord, all these things we pray in Jesus' name. Amen.
Thank you. The Pledge of Allegiance. Pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, liberty and justice for all. Okay, we'll call this meeting to order on August 3rd. Tina, would you do the roll call, please? Here. Here. Okay. We have a presentation today from Laura Batson, the superintendent of USD 409. Welcome.
Well, thank you, and thanks for inviting me. I am entering my second year as the proud superintendent and resident of Atchison here, and have loved our community and loved being a part. So I'm glad to take this moment to brag on our staff and students and our community. So a little bit about me, if you want to kind of switch to the next slide on there, because that's always something that's important to me, is who are you as a staff member, who are you as a student? I have been, previous to moving here, the Director of Teaching and Learning in Leavenworth School District. I'm an Army wife for 33 years now, and very proud of our time across the United States. Most of my experience has been in middle school math and from the classroom. I was an elementary and middle school principal for several years, instructional coach, as well as director of teaching and learning. So in there, I am a proud alumni of Pitt State. When we came up here, that's where I got my master's and my specialist, and I'm also an Axum Jack from Nacogdoches, Texas, deep East Texas. So you'll see and hear a lot of my roots and who I am as a human. All right? So a little bit about my family. My husband, Brian, you see up there in the cornfields. We loved the corn when we first got here because it's much greener here than it is in Texas. And my father, that's there in the middle with me, he lives with us now. And when we were looking for housing, we were looking for a multi-generational type home or something that we could come and have a place for all of us to coexist. We also support and host foreign exchange students. So Carlos is down there on the lower left. We actually have Carlos back in Spain, and we're picking up Magnus from Germany, who will be in our schools. We pick him up on Wednesday. And then that is my extended family off to the right at my daughter's wedding. And family is a huge component of who I am as a leader. It's definitely shaped my viewpoint, and I'm very blessed to have such an amazing family. So in there, when we go to the next slide, this is our strategic plan. I was very fortunate to walk into a setting where the prior superintendent and board had done such a thoughtful job of creating some goals and some priorities for our district. In here, you'll see 4 big buckets that we put all our work around. The educational opportunities and learning for our students and staff, making sure we have the highest quality of staff available for our students, building those community partnerships and expanding our CTE programs. And then finally, the one that always is the hardest to do is just really concentrating on communication and making sure we have open and transparent, authentic communication. So when you look at those 4 buckets, one of the things we've really worked on is what does it mean to be Phoenix proud? And that is something that we talk about ad nauseum, probably if you ask staff. But in there is those behaviors and those actions that we as leaders, regardless what position or what title or what department you work in, do to support our students to becoming the future citizens and civically engaged creatures that we need them to be to help ensure Atchison has many, many years of just a bright future as it's had in the past. So one of the things we've done is created a Phoenix Challenge coin. Told you I was a military wife for many years, so challenge coins are something that has been a part, and I think I have a picture of one on the next. So in there, it's a way of recognizing someone that has gone above and beyond for someone in our Phoenix family, an act of service. Whether that's helping new teachers, which we had 10 new teachers start today and 1 post-secondary success. Not all new to teaching, but new to Atchison. So one of the very first things we did is gave a tour of Atchison and talked about a lot of the history, talked about some of the notoriety that's been here, and of course, maybe a haunted story, 1 or 2 in there. And they fell in love with our community just as I did a little over a year ago. So these are a token just to say, I see you and I value you. And one of the things that always, when people are like, how can we show support to teachers, is just saying thank you. Taking a moment, whether it's your own personal children, grandchildren, nieces and nephews, or just someone you're aware of, taking a moment to say thank you for what you do, because we have some amazing staff in there. So a little bit more about our district in there, and I can't. Every year, as part of our needs assessment, is we take the district buildings through a look at their data, a look at their staffing needs, a look at their concerns, parent complaints that have come in, any and all things that could give an overall picture of how we're succeeding. And so for the district level, I want to share with you that we are really looking at these 3 kind of ways of making sure that's communicated. The needs assessment is done at every building. Parents have, through our site council, through our PTOs, have input on it. Our secondary students are involved in a feedback loop, as well as all of our staff. Then that is shared with the Board of Education. It was shared in our July board meeting. And then they use that in August to kind of help set needs and priorities for our budget workshop that'll be coming up in August and September. So budget is always, just like for you, a major ordeal to do in a school setting. So in this, our timeline, as you see kind of where we are. Right now, we are in July, early August, where we're working on getting ready to present the budget at the August board meeting. So our August board meeting is August 10th, and I would love to see anyone come. And in that, that's where we'll be talking about revenue neutral rate, as well as our school year 26, fiscal year 27 school budget on there. So as a needs assessment, we have approximately a third, 26% of our students that are on a formal IEP process. In there, 63, it's been as high as 66% of our students come from what's considered by the state and by the nation a low socioeconomic piece of that. We have one of our biggest challenges, our chronic absenteeism rate. So about a fifth of our students, 21%, are what are considered chronically absent. That means they miss more than 10% a year for any non-school related reason in there. And the research is very clear. The more consistent we have in attendance, the more consistently high we can get our academics in there. Our graduation rate is higher than the state average at 95%, and our dropout rate is lower than the state's at 1.5%. And overall, even though we have 21% of our kids that miss more than 10% of school days, our daily attendance rate fluctuates between a 92 to a 95% on any given day. So for the most part, we've got kids coming to school. We just need to get them coming to school more consistently in there, and that's one of our major barriers. And one of the things you'll see an emphasis on this year is school attendance. When you also look at this, one of the things that came out from our needs assessment this year is we have really got to focus on our early literacy. That is the foundation, that's phonics and that phonological awareness that makes readers. And so that is an emphasis that you will see this year in our primary school. And then working with our teachers third and up on making sure that they really have a comfortable understanding and a working understanding of their standards that they're teaching from there. So when you look at action steps, the needs assessment said our tier 1, our core instruction, has got to be a priority to strengthen that. From there, really focus on what are those high impact strategies that teachers should rely on and have in their toolbox or their back pocket that are used most often. We've got to continue to look at staffing and programming needs. And then because our teachers range anywhere from today was the first day on contract for a couple of teachers to others that have over 40 years of experience really personalizing that professional development that supports teachers in there. Now, one of the things that I always hear, of course, is about state assessment. And for me, data is just data. So I'm pretty transparent with it, and I want people to understand it. So in our state assessment, which is called CAP, Kansas Assessment Program, it's given through grades 3 through 10 in most every subject, English and math. I put the last 2 year scores up there for you, and you will see that when we're coming to ELA, which has been our emphasis area, we've seen some growth. And what I love is you're seeing it at that elementary level, which means our focus on phonics and our focus on those foundational reading skills are starting to work. You're now to see when a third grader starts testing, that is the transitional year from when you're reading to learn. You're learning to read, the skills and the decoding and all that, to you use reading to learn. So being those independent learners. So you will see across the board, we had growth in those areas, and I'm anxious to see what it is this next spring. When we look at, I believe science is next, but we'll see. We saw a different story in there. As we focused a lot on ELA, our science scores, nothing with our science teachers, they're working their tails off and are amazing, but we see some decline, which means that somewhere in there, more than likely, our curriculum is no longer aligned to what is the state standards and what's being assessed on. So Felicia Yoakum, who's our Director of Teaching and Learning, this is an audit that she will do this year because we saw such a decline as it goes through, making sure that our instructional needs and assessments for science match with what the state is asking. And then in math, which is our last tested, you'll see, once again, overall, some growth. You'll see the emphasis has been on primary, making sure we can get as many kids on grade level by third grade as possible. And in that, you'll see that overall, we see growth. There is a slight bump in the 8th grade. That's nothing that I'm necessarily worried about until I see that be a trend. And then from there, that's when we'll kind of investigate more. But yep. So one of the things that we're always asked is, okay, tell me a little bit about why schools say they need more money. Why do schools say they don't have enough money for the budget? In there, you will see that overall, as part of our state's budget, education has greatly declined over the last several years. We went in 2020 for public education was at 52.64%, and this last year we were at 46%. When you're talking across the state, that is a huge decline in funds that are available for that. But on contrast, if you look at the next slide, when you look at enrollment trends, Atchison has seen quite similar. The nation is under what's called a declining enrollment. They have termed it the birth dearth. In reality, just means families aren't having as many kids as they used to. There's nothing with Atchison specifically. It's across the nation. So in there, you will see that we had a little over 1,300 students that were considered full-time equivalents, or FTEs. But when we did our weightings, which means at-risk formulas, low SES, maybe transportation, CTE, and there's about 12 different categories this applies to. It bumps it up to 1980, basically. In there, what that means is our budget has not increased by any means, but it's not declining as fast as our enrollment is because the weightings have kept us pretty stagnant and flat. The problem comes in that when you have that high of weightings, they come with special needs, whether it is specialized equipment for a CTE program, whether that is an increased busing because we have more kids outside that 2.5 mile radius, which is where we get the reimbursables, or whether that is a social emotional type need in there. So when you hear about declining enrollment, and I believe the next slide may show on this, you will see we lost about 100 kids this past school year. The year before that, we lost about, I think it was 102. So we're about 100 kids a year. We'll see what it turns out to be this year. We're right in the middle of enrollment right now. In there, when you're talking about how school funding is calculated, it is basically your base aid times the number of students. So in there, last year when we lost 99 students, we have on average $556,000 less in our school budget. That affects staffing. That affects programs, just like it would in any other budget. So from there, that's where when you may hear like, did you know Atchison was cutting blah, blah, blah? Did you know Atchison School District was, not having as many fourth grade teachers, fifth grade teachers, second grade teachers? This is the reason why in there. Then when you look at where we're going with it, the reality is, just like with most budgets and households and whatever, the school district is being asked to do less with more needs. But the staff will tell you, you can't ever do more with less. You can do less with less, or you can do less effective with less. But the reality of long-term of doing more with less doesn't really work out. So our question that we ask our students, we ask our families through 2 Cent Tuesdays, which I do the third and fourth Tuesday of every month, is where is it you want our emphasis to be? Where do you see a need and an area for our community to grow? Is that in trades? Is it in our D1 schools? Is it in the biomed field? Where can we, when we make these choices of where to put our resources, hit the most kids for the brightest future that we can? And trend lines on this, you're just showing you some of the changes that are in this, that come from that. Because a lot of times people will think there's more students in Atchison than have been. Okay? So
Is that K through 12?
that is K-12. Primary is where it's the most. We're declining about 15% in primary grades each year. Okay. So, and just so you know, it's not just Atchison. It is declining across the state. This is something that KASB put out where it talked about the key causes of our declining enrollment on this. Okay. And there's our 15% in primary decrease. 2 Cent Tuesdays is a format that I started last year that's been very beneficial, and that is exactly what it is. It's a time for anybody to come in. The next community one is on September 29th to give me your 2 cents. Whether that's something you really like, whether that's something you really don't like, whether that's a question on how we do something. I have a staff one that's the second Tuesday of every month, and then the community one varies between third and fourth in there, and we put that out on our social media as well as send out through buildings. But it is a way to absolutely create a feedback loop, and I would love to have you get involved at any point that you would like to join us. So that is kind of the state of the union, where we are with all things assessment, enrollment, budget, and kind of involvement. I would be happy to brag on our district or answer any questions you have.
Is this the first year for the 2 Cent program?
No, I did it last year.
Can I ask
So.
you what kind of attendance you had at that?
The staff one has really grown as people got more comfortable with me. And what's ironic is the very first one, it was very, very quiet. And there wasn't a lot shared. The last one we had in May, there was laughter and they kind of solved their problems amongst themselves. And it's more of just a time to kind of talk in there. The community has fluctuated greatly. At some point, I had one parent come one time, and it was just me and her, and we had a very detailed conversation about her child. Other ones, there have been to about 12 was the most I've had of community members at a time, and the topics range from anything of I don't understand why this was done, or I have a problem with anything on it. So there's no set agenda, there's no presentation. It is literally just sitting around talking.
And what time is this?
At the community one starts at 4:30. So as people are coming home from work, it goes 4:30 to 6. Yeah. Sure. We have done a cross-check. Last year, we've done it the last 2 years. Renee Nugent started it. I did it again last year to do a one-for-one check of where we exited students to, because in Kansas, schools will have to request records to see, were we losing them to a specific district? Were we losing them to our private schools? And really, we got as many students in as were exited in there. And as where they're going, it's kind of all over. We have some that will attend Effingham, and then, like I said, we have Effingham coming in. We have some that are going to your parochial private schools, and we have some that go to Pleasant Ridge, but a lot are homeschooling, in all honesty, in there. And then a lot of them come back as well. So that in and out right now is kind of canceled each other out on that. But our main decline is in the early ages, K2.
One of the statistics that was most alarming to me was the number of students that had the most truancies.
Yeah.
When I was a kid, there was something called a truant officer. Is there still something like that?
Yes, Rosetta Rawls does that for us. She's our school liaison. She works with the Community Justice Center. She's in court every Thursday, pretty much, with records and things with that. So truancy law is still there, and it is something that we file. We try to always work with a parent. In Kansas, as a parent, you have 10 days that you can excuse your child for whatever reason. And then what's called the 3-5-7 rule in truancy. So 3 days in a row, 5 in a semester, 7 in a year. We try to catch that before it gets to that point and make sure that there's not a barrier we can help remove.
I had a question. So I get a lot of questions. You mentioned the budget process and your revenue neutral rate hearing that's coming up. You only have control, as a school district, you only have control over some of your budget, is correct, in terms of the revenue neutral rate and how much ad valorem tax gets distributed to the school district. Could you talk on that a little bit?
Sure. So basically there's 4 buckets in public school funding. Your mill levy that gets assessed comes into our general mainly and our what's called an LOB, local object budget. Those used to be like your primary checking and your primary savings. However, school budgets now, it's all used for just basically bills. And your majority of your bills are staff salaries that come out of your general and your LOB. From that, you also have a capital outlay mill levy. That goes into facilities, equipment, uniforms, very specific things you can use in capital outlay. And then, of course, in 2024 with the bond, there's a mill levy that comes into pays for bond and interest in there. But those are the 4 buckets that money from our local taxpayers go into. And for the majority of that, the general and LOB covers about 85 to 90% of all taxes collected go towards staff salaries. insurance benefits, and utilities. Very little goes to things. From there, the federal government, state government give us pass-through funds on anything from CTE Perkins Grant, that's your career technical education, your title funds, your at-risk funds, and those are not taxpayer dependent as far as mill levies here in Atchison. Those are dependent on those weightings we talked about. And those a lot of times are done through either your home economic survey that you fill out as part of enrollment, or through if you're behind in grade levels, or if you have some specialized needs, or programming like CTE.
Any other questions? Well, Dr. Batson, thank you very much.
Thank you. I would love to come back and brag on our district some more. We have back to school night next Wednesday, not day after tomorrow, but the following Wednesday. So feel free to come be up in our schools and welcome kids back and staff back. So thank you.
Appreciate it. All right, we'll move on to the public forum. Persons who wish to address the city commission regarding items that are not on the agenda may do so at this time when called upon. Speakers are limited to 3 minutes and should give their name and address when addressing the commission. Any presentation is for information purposes only. Any and all written communication should be deposited with the city clerk, Tina Fitzpatrick. Do we have anybody that'd like to comment on anything? Should start at a time, 4:55. Nobody? No takers? Okay, we'll close the public forum. We'll move to the consent agenda with Mark Westhoff, City Manager.
Thank you, Vice Mayor, Commissioners. We only have one item on the consent agenda tonight, which is to approve the minutes of your July 6, 2026 City Commission meeting.
I'll second it.
All those in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed? Motion passes.
Okay.
Move on to new business, public hearing on 298th Road vacation.
Okay. I'll give a little background here, and then Vice Mayor, you can open up the public hearing, take comments for and against, close the public hearing, and then vote on the ordinance. So last year, Valley Hope reached out to the city to discuss, they had purchased a property on the other side of 298th Road from their current location, and that they were looking at trying to put a connecting building between the two. So I informed them that in order to do that, obviously that public right-of-way would have to be vacated first, and I kind of walked them through the process of how they would go about doing that. The largest hurdle for this process was that the Abbey and First Steps have their daycare center up north of this on the property, and part of their site plan approval from the city for that daycare center it showed a southern egress from the daycare center, a second egress that connected down to 298th Road. So we discussed that emergency services and city staff approved that site plan with that southern egress, and so if they were going to vacate the road, they needed to provide a second option of egress from the south side of that daycare. The Abbey and Valley Hope came to an agreement to build a private drive on the south side of the First Steps daycare that connects back to 2nd Street so that it bypasses 298th Road. Then after that, Valley Hope was able to secure signatures from all adjacent landowners where they have no concerns about vacating the right-of-way, and they submitted this application to vacate the right-of-way, which would give each landowner adjacent to it each side of that right-of-way that's closest to their property. So the parts adjacent to the Abbey would become Abbey land, the parts adjacent to Valley Hope would become Valley Hope's land, and the parts adjacent to the Growney Trust on the end would become part of their land. So any questions about that before you open the public hearing?
Nope.
Okay.
All right, at 3:58, we'll open the public hearing. If anyone would like to comment for or against this proposal. I have one comment? Sure. The current road that's there, will that be improved upon? Or will it continue to be in the state that it's in?
You mean 298th Road?
No, the new access road.
The new access road, it is finished currently. I think that there's a plan eventually to consider improvements to it. But at its current state, it is finished. It's a gravel drive that connects to the pavement, yes.
Okay. No one commenting? Okay. We'll, at 4:59, we'll close the public hearing.
And then I'd be happy to take any questions you have on the proposed ordinance 6735, which is an ordinance vacating 298th Road east of North 2nd Street to its terminus on the eastern side of city limits. Any questions from the commission on that?
City is confident that this easement will not be an issue down the road, 10 years, 20 years?
Sure. So when we vacate a right-of-way, we maintain an easement to any existing utilities that are in that right-of-way. That's important for us because on the east side of this area, we do have water and sewer lines that run north-south across 298th Road. So we do want to maintain those utility easements. The area that Valley Hope is looking at building, their building, does not have any utilities. Obviously, that'll be part of the site plan discussion for them when they present that to the Planning Commission. So we're not worried about it other than we do want to reserve the easement for existing utilities in the right-of-way.
And this ordinance allows for that all to...
Correct, yeah.
Okay.
Bob drafted this, our city attorney. It's pretty standard for the process for vacating a public right-of-way.
Any other questions, comments? Second that motion.
Second it.
All those in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Motion passes.
Thank you.
We appreciate your investment.
Yeah, thank you very much.
Good luck to both projects.
Thank you.
Come on up anytime.
No.
We have an open house, I think in October or something, I think we're all those guys will be there. So
Wonderful.
We'll let everybody know when that's gonna happen. We'd love to have everybody come up.
Thank
Great,
you.
thank you.
Thank you.
Okay. I will move to item 3, sewage lift station. Lynn McNamee.
Afternoon. So, yes, we have a sewage lift station. This is the one we call Heritage. It's up in the kind of the Bluebird Court / Cardinal Court area, North Town, K7. It's been in service for now 35 years, so it's definitely outpaced its expected service life. We would intend to purchase it this year. It's got a long lead time, 28 to 32 weeks. So this would be something that would be installed next year. We have an annual pump rebuilds and replacements at line in our wastewater CIP, which is where this would be coded to. And other than that, there will be some additional, we'll have, this is just the station itself, so it's not the installation, it's not the electrical upgrades that we have planned for next year, but that we'll be back to ask for that, I'm sure, next year. So this is just to get the thing ordered so we can get it sooner than later next year.
So nothing has failed yet,
It's still,
but it could at any minute.
I don't know that it's quite as bad as that. I mean, I think we're confident that as it has issues that we can keep it going until this next one comes in, but There's kind of a, I don't want to say it's sole source. It is possible to get someone else to do it. However, it's a certain kind of pump that's there, lift station, and to go with a different company would require additional fitment because it's not what's the word I'm looking for? Not calibrated is not right. Configured. They're all different, and so this one would be the closest thing that what we got now without having to redo a bunch of piping that would be there. So with that, it's the request is excuse me, to purchase one of these lift stations from Smith & Lovelace in the amount of $67,481. I'm asking for $70,000 even for budget authority in case the shipping prices change between the time they sent this and the time we get it, so.
And that's all current, included in the current budget, correct?
Yes. Yep. We budget around $100,000 a year to do these annual replacements.
Clinton, is there still new construction going on area in Bluebird Court?
I'm not aware of any recently.
There are a few empty lots, I believe, to the west of Cardinal and Bluebird, but I have not heard from Sunrise that they're planning anytime recently to finish those and put houses on those. I think they're kind of using them as a green belt, sort of behind Cardinal and connecting down to Bluebird and their other properties. So I've not seen any evidence that they're planning to put in homes on those empty lots. But everything else in Bluebird and Cardinal is completed.
And I don't know if you're asking about how many houses. I mean, there's more up there that goes to this lift station. I want to say it's pretty much everything north of, I think it's Liberty. And it just depends on the lay of the land up there, but I think everything north of Liberty probably goes to this Heritage lift station. And then back.
Yes.
Yes.
Yeah. Authorized staff.
Purchase. Pumping. $67,480.
Okay, I'll second that.
All those in favor?
Aye.
Aye. Any opposed? Hearing none. All right, communications, Mr. Westhoff, city manager.
Thank you again. Okay, just a couple items here. We did include in your communications tonight a copy of the letter that we discussed at your last meeting that we received from the mayor of Derry City in Northern Ireland. Their letter to our mayor and then our mayor's response letter to them, just fostering communication between the two cities that are connected through heritage with Amelia Earhart. So those are in your packet and available to the public. We also have a letter from the Department of Commerce, a certificate of completion from the Department of Commerce for the LFM Park project. Held that public hearing at the last meeting. Now we received the certificate, so that is officially closed out on their end. And we have a letter, notice of intent to award for the Build Kansas funds, $16,188 towards our airport apron and taxi lane rehab and expansion project. So that's their share of that they are now committed to as well. That shaves down our local match slightly is the way that those Build Kansas funds work. So we are grateful for that. And then I have my city manager update. Only a couple items on here. Of note, the runway at the airport is now paved. So that portion, the large portion of that project is complete. Yeah, I think it's worth applauding. So that's very exciting. We got some really great photos of that too while it was being done. So we'll put some of those out. Final items for the runway project include installing the runway lights and the navigational aids for pilots. We'll do grading and seeding around the work areas that they've been at, and then striping and FAA testing and approval of the runway. So we are hopeful that that will all be operational within the month. Yeah, again, we're hopeful that it will be operational this month, into this month. And then we'll try to plan a ribbon cutting ceremony with City Commission and others. You know, we received state and federal funding to help pay for this, as well as private donations. So I think it would be of interest to quite a few individuals to kind of come out and see the new runway in action at that point, likely. Although hopefully not while we're actually doing the ribbon cutting, but you never know. So anyway, that's all very exciting, and we hope to have an operational runway very soon. In the meantime, Clinton Reagan and I are working out the details with the FBO on their contract, with the hangars and everything, so that whenever it is open, it can be up and operational. We've talked at length now for about 2 years on that South Headworks sewer separation and CSO project. It's not an actual separation, but it's part of the CSOs. That is scheduled to begin work next month, finally. So we've approved the contract and everything, and the contractor is actually coming out to do the work now, which is another one that seemed like it might not ever happen. So we're grateful that that's starting to move forward. City crews on the streets. City crews are now working on the annual alleyway overlays over the next few weeks, so you'll see them operating in some alleys. They should be giving notice to anyone who's impacted by that, but just if they're in your alley, then they're out there working on an overlay project. We're still anticipating Herzog to be in the city in the early fall for the larger overlay projects around town in the city streets. And I wanted to announce that we are working with Atchison County Road and Bridge on grading P Street east of 2nd Street. So it's one of our few gravel roads in city limits. We don't have very many of those, so we don't really have the equipment necessary to grade those in a proper way. So we asked Atchison County if they could help us with that, and they said they would. So we're doing some prep work with it, and then they're going to come in and do the grading on that. So we are grateful for that partnership. Then last thing, just again, another reminder on the budget process and where we're at. We do have a workshop this evening after this meeting to take a look at some of the kind of final proposed numbers. And then once you all have approved that, that will be printed in the Atchison Globe on August 14th. I will present that to you at your next City Commission meeting on August 17th. And then the R&R and budget hearings will be held on September 8th at 4:30 p.m. here at City Hall. And those are obviously, all of those meetings are open to the public. And the last one, there will be actual public hearings. Any questions for me?
No? Thank you very much.
Thank you.
Appreciate it. Okay, anything else? Move to governing body comments. Mr. Murphy, Commissioner Murphy.
Well, I only have one comment or about a big. I was fortunate enough, you guys have already. We ought to be proud of ourselves for high technology, well run. Our superintendent out there, Quentin, he said it. He said the best kept secret in Atchison, and I get a glass of water, especially when you're getting it from there to here. Pretty amazing. Grateful.
It sounds like you had the same reaction that the three of us had during the
Yeah.
tour. So it is a well-kept secret, and what all goes into that process is amazing. The technology, the
Chemistry.
manpower that
Chemistry.
needs to take. Yeah. So they're good that they're a well-kept secret, because the only reason people would comment if something went wrong, probably, so. Careful what you wish for, deal. Mr. Greenlee?
I have nothing.
I got nothing.
I have nothing.
Okay, all right. Well, I guess we're coming into an election season here, so hope people get out and vote and are conscientious and consider all the variables in making any important decisions that need to be made, so. All right, with that, do I have a motion to adjourn?
So moved.
Nope. We're adjourned.
Thank you.
Need a